Hey Book Dragons, welcome back to my channel. Glad you could be here with me. Today we are talking about my top 10 WTF moments in books. Let's go. Thank you to my patrons. I really appreciate all you do to support the channel. So you ever have those moments when you're reading a book and you read something in the book that just makes you totally flip your lid? Something you didn't see coming. Maybe it's something shocking, maybe you don't like it, but for whatever reason it just makes you go WTF. And I won't say what that means, we all know what it means. You've probably said it a few times yourself when you're reading a book or something similar to it. I know I have. So today we're going to talk about my top 10 moments like that in books. And this is going to be a spoiler-filled video. But here's what I'm going to do for you. For each one, I am going to tell you what book it's from or what series it's from. I am going to just give like a general quick little blurb about it, and then if you decide to stay for the spoiler part of that particular book or series, you can. And if you don't want to, I will have timestamps in the description below. You can skip to the next video in the section, and they will be labeled by the book series or book name as well. So just be aware, I'm here for you. I don't want to spoil you, but this is a kind of video that you can't really do spoiler free, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't be WTF moments. So let's get right to it. We're going to start with my number 10, and that is the ending of the Broken Earth Trilogy. I could say the end of the first book in the Broken Earth Trilogy, which is the 5th season, because it did kind of have a WTF moment, but the more you read in the book, you start to realize what's going on, and it's kind of not a big surprise. Whereas the end of the series, I didn't really see coming. That's what this is all about. It will spoil the ending for the Broken Earth Trilogy, so I'm giving you a second here to click off and go to the next one. Okay, if you're still here, that means you are ready for this WTF moment. When I realized the reason for the second person perspective pretty much throughout the whole series was because the Stone Eater who had followed Essen toward the end of the final book, as she was starting to turn to stone and things like that, was relaying everything that happened back to her because she had become a Stone Eater and she had forgotten much of her life. She'd lost that sense of self because she had become something wholly new and different. And I tell you what, I did not see that coming. I loved it. It was a great ending. And that's the thing. Some of these endings are ones that you're like, you know, why did that happen? I don't like that. Others you'll be like, wow, that was shocking, but I like it. You know, so this is one of those endings I really, really liked. But good job on N.K. Jemisin for not cluing me in. I didn't see it coming. Okay, so let's move on to number 9. And that is from the Malazan Book of the Fallen. Now keep in mind, I have only read the first 2 books completely, and then I've stopped on the third for right now. But this is regarding the identity of 2 major characters early on in the story, and that would be the identities of Shadowthrone and Cotillion. So we find out in Deadhouse Gates who Shadowthrone and Cotillion really are. I was pretty surprised. Now it's not a huge impactful thing, but it was kind of cool to see the intricate ties woven into the story. So This is your chance to step away right now before I spoil the identities of Shadow Throne and Cotillion. Okay, you're still here? Good. I was quite shocked that the identity of Shadow Throne and Cotillion are Kellanved and Dancer. So there's this big to-do about Emperor Kellanved dying, and then Dancer, one of his chief warriors and servants, dying as well in battle, and apparently they ascended to become Shadow Throne and Cotillion. I thought that was kind of cool. Not a major WTF moment, but enough of one where I'm like, well, wait, what? That's kind of interesting how Erikson wove that into the story. So let's move on to number 8. And that comes from Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. And it involves a character death. So if you don't want to hear any more about that, you haven't read Assassin's Apprentice, step away now. If you already know the story or you just don't care, stick around. Okay, are you still here? All right, here we go. So I was really surprised that after all the to-do about Fitz being found out as an assassin in training and the word kind of getting out that he was possibly set up to kill Prince Rurisk, I was very surprised that Robin Hobb went ahead and had him assassinated anyway. After all that big to-do, I was kind of disappointed, especially because Rurisk has such a history with Fitz's father. I thought it would be really cool for him to have somebody he could go to and learn more about his father from. And I really liked Rurisk's character, and I wish he wouldn't have been killed off so soon. All right, moving on to number 7. And that comes from Rhythm of War, Book 4 in the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. So this involves a major character in the story gaining new power, and something that I really didn't see coming, and something that I didn't really like. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, move on to the next section. Okay, you still here? Cool. I was very shocked that Taravangian didn't die in his interaction with Odium. What's more, I was shocked that he killed Odium and took Odium's place. I didn't like that. I really, really didn't like that. I don't like Taravangian. That's an unpopular opinion. I cannot stand his character. I really do not like his character. Throughout the whole book, I was just like, okay, when is Taravangian finally going to die? This old man just needs to go away. And no, we're stuck with him now as a god. I'm like, wait, what? No. So I know it's petty. Move on, Chaz. It's okay. Calm down. But I was really bummed by that one. Let's move on to number 6. And that is the ending of the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. So you probably heard that there's a lot of mixed feelings among fans on the ending. Some people like it, some people don't. And that's pretty much where it stands. There's really no midway point per se. So it's a very divisive ending. And this is the part where I talk spoilers. So if you want to hear what I have to say about the ending of Dark Tower, stick around. If not, step away now. Still here? Okay, cool. So the ending of the Dark Tower finds Roland climbing to the top of the Dark Tower, peeking in different rooms, and finally reaching a room at the top that puts him right back at the very beginning where he started his journey toward the Dark Tower. Now, there is one difference, of course, that this time around he has the Horn of Eld, which he did not have at the beginning of the Gunslinger. So that's definitely different, and it kind of tells you that possibly the second time around he will succeed at writing everything. But it's this endless cycle of reincarnation up until this point, apparently. And I can see why it's divisive. I actually liked it quite well. I thought it was kind of cool. I'm one of those weird guys that likes the ending of Lost. If you've ever watched Lost, it's one of those, what the heck was that? You know? But I liked it. And I liked the ending of The Dark Tower as well, but I can see why fans don't like it. It does kind of make you feel like you've gone through the whole journey with Roland, only to come right back to the beginning and, you know, what did we go through all that for? So I get it. I understand. And that's one reason why Stephen King gives you the option to stop at, so there's two endings. There is an ending point before the very final ending where he does say, you know, you can stop here. And if you want to read along, you may not be as happy as you are now. So, you know, so there's a happy ending, and then there's the final ending, which is kind of like, yeah, what the heck was that? Or WTF was that? So, yeah, that is my number 6. Number 5 is from Dune by Frank Herbert. And this involves character bloodlines. And that's all I'm going to say. It's time to step away if you don't want Dune spoiled. If you're okay with Dune being spoiled, or if you've read it, stick around. I'll give you a 1, 2, 3. You still here? Okay. All right. Here we go. I remember when I first read Dune. It was after I had seen the original Dune movie by David Lynch. And so my first time reading Dune was when I was a young adult. And I remember reading for the first time where it talks about Jessica being a Harkonnen. And so thus Paul is half Harkonnen, half Atreides. They've merged the bloodlines for, you know, creating this super being, and I'm like, oh my god, because that's not in the original movie. And if I remember right, at least they had not yet. I don't remember them talking about that really much in the new movie either. If they've even, you know, gotten to a point where they discuss it in that story that Denis Villeneuve was writing. So I was really impressed by that. It adds so much to the story, but when I first read it, I'm like, whoa, what? So Paul's half Harkonnen, basically. And, you know, he is the grandson of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, basically, and I'm just like, whoa, that's really heady. And I loved how much nuance that added to his character that you just didn't get in the movie, which I'd watched probably 10 or 15 times before ever reading the book. So it just kind of brought it into a whole new perspective. So yeah, that is my number 5. Number 4 comes from The Lord of the Rings, specifically The Two Towers. And it involves a major character who supposedly died not being dead. That's all I'm going to say. If you step away now, you will avoid spoilers. If you've read The Lord of the Rings trilogy, or you've seen the movies, which most people have, you probably know what I'm talking about anyway. So I'll give you a couple seconds here. Alright, you're still here? Got it? Alright, good. When I first saw The Fellowship of the Ring in theaters, I had not read the books at all. And when Gandalf fought the Balrog at the end and was dragged into the chasm, I was crushed. Oh my gosh. Tears. I was just beside myself. And then I'm like, okay, so it'll be a while before the next two movies come out. I'm going to read the books. I read through the books and I got to that part in the books, and I'm like, oh God, here I go again. And then I got to the Two Towers, and lo and behold, Gandalf is alive. I'm like, well, that would have been nice to know. but then I knew. So Gandalf came back. He never actually died. He somehow managed to survive. All right, here we go. Number 3, which comes from the Hyperion Duology. Now, in order to avoid spoilers for this one, you do have to have read both Hyperion and Fall of Hyperion. So you have to have read both books. They are one story, so I hope you've read both books. If you have not, you will want to step away because it does involve the identity of a major side character in the story. And so go ahead, take a moment, step away, click to the next slide. And are you still here? Hello? Alright, here we go. This is a character by the name of Moneta, who General Kassad meets in his weird kind of fever dream after some of like his training excursions and battles he fights in. He ends up encountering this woman Moneta on his journeys. She's just seemingly out of the blue. He doesn't know who she is. He tries to find out who she is, and her identity really isn't presented to us until the very end of Fall of Hyperion. And it turns out that she is actually a far future version of Rachel, Saul's daughter, Saul Weintraub's daughter, who ages backwards in time because of getting stuck in a loop in the time tombs, and she ages backward to a little baby, and then at the end, future Rachel, aka Moneta, comes through a portal and takes baby Rachel with her to save. It's weird. It's weird. It's cool. I like it, but I was like, what? I didn't see that coming. That was like, that is my number 3 WTF moment, because I was blown away. I was blown away. So if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. All right, let's move on to number 2. And that comes from Hero of Ages, Book 3 in Mistborn Era 1. So if you have not read the entirety of the first Mistborn trilogy, and you don't want spoilers, because this is a big one, you better step away now. Okay. Here we go. The identity of the Hero of Ages, instead of who I thought it would be all along. You know, we were led up to this point, or at least I felt like we were led up to this point in the story to believe that Vin was destined to be the Hero of Ages. And she's not. What the heck, Brandon? I'm like, I mean, not only is Sazed the Hero of Ages, Vin gets killed. I'm like, no. She was supposed to be the Hero of Ages. What the heck? So, yeah, that was my number 2 WTF moment, because I was just, I did not want Sazed to be the Hero of Ages. I mean, Sazed's fine. I like Sazed. Don't get me wrong. He's a great character, and he absolutely deserves every bit of power that he gets. But I'm like, no, Vin should have been the Hero of Ages, but she wasn't. And there's nothing Chaz can do about it, so we're just going to move on and talk about number 1. You ready for this? All right. This comes from A Song of Ice and Fire, the book series that Game of Thrones was based on. Specifically, Book 3, A Storm of Swords. This is a pivotal moment in the story that changes so many things drastically. And that's all I'm going to say. If you think you know what I'm going to talk about because you've read the book, feel free to stick around. If you don't, if you have not read these books, and you have not watched Game of Thrones, if you're one of the few people in the world who has not watched Game of Thrones, you probably want to step away now, because I'm going to spoil a whole heck of a lot. Okay? Okay, still here? You ready for this? The Red Wedding. That is my number one WTF moment in all the books I've read. And I've read a lot of books, but that was my number one WTF moment. I'm going to try to keep my composure, but I'm getting a little bit of emotion here. That scene was brutal for me. I really, really liked Robb Stark. I really liked Catelyn Stark. And when that happened, I'm like, you at a wedding, and oh man, I was furious when I first read it. I was furious in a good way. I mean, it was good. I knew George's reputation for killing characters that you love, and I definitely loved Robb Stark and Catelyn Stark. And just to see everybody at that wedding slaughtered, to see the King of the North and his mother and his cohorts just slaughtered. I remember having to put the book down and just take a minute, because I was like, I need some time. And so when I started watching the show after I'd read, I think I started watching the show after I'd read about 4 books. And so I'm like, okay, all right, I'm ready for this. I knew it was coming, and I started into the episode where I could tell, okay, this is going to be it. I'm curious to see what they do with the Red Wedding. I knew it was coming. I'm prepared. Oh my gosh. Visually, to see it on screen, just the depth of emotions and shock and anguish as Catelyn started to realize what was about to happen, and then it happened, and she couldn't do anything about it, and now she's dead and Robb's dead, and I'm like, oh my God, the Starks are like my favorite family. That was rough. So that is my number one WTF moment of all time. If you have stuck with me through all of these, or, if you clicked on different ones to skip around, that's fine too. But what did you think? What are your thoughts on the WTF moments that I have had in my reading career? Let me know. How do you handle those WTF moments in books? How do they typically make you feel? Do you find that you get angry at a lot of those moments, or you have mixed feelings about it? What do you think? I would love to hear your comments below. I would love to read your comments below. And I think that's it, guys. I've gone on way too long with this. Make sure you read more books. I'll talk with you soon.